You're listening to the Holistic Health Front podcast.
Whether you've already taken steps towards a healthier life,
or you're just starting to explore this path,
this podcast aims to help all of us live longer and more energized lives,
so we can all do the things we want and be the person we know we can be.
We bring on functional health experts, parents, professionals, and everyday people who want to make positive changes in their lives.
And we create powerful conversations about how to feel good in a fun, easy, and understandable way,
so you can live the most fulfilling life possible.
Enjoy today's discussion and let us hear your thoughts in our Powerful People Facebook group.
The information presented in this podcast is not meant to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, or mitigate any disease.
If you have any questions about your health or the health of a loved one, please consult your healthcare practitioner.
Now let's begin.
Okay, we are recording. Welcome everybody back to the Holistic Health Front podcast. Today we're talking about poop. Nah, kind of. Kind of. Maybe for a little bit, we might talk about some poop today. But overall, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest dominoes when it comes to health and wellness. And for anybody who is just not like, you want to feel better, you could be doing something to improve your health, but you just don't really know where to start. This could be a really big domino to start with, and it is for a lot of people. So we're here again today with our Holistic Health Front, our board, our team of coaches and health professionals. We're going to go around really quick. We haven't been doing this in previous episodes, but we're going to start doing this now and just kind of let our coaches let you know who's here pretty quickly. So if we want to go around the horn, Stephanie, do you want to start? Say hi.
Hi, it's Stephanie Cook from Iowa. Thanks for joining us.
Yes. Okay, Shannon, do you want to go next?
Hey, it's Shannon Smith in Texas.
And Courtney?
Hi, good evening. It's Courtney Ramey, and I'm coming from St. John and the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Woohoo!
That's the chirping you hear in the background. That's Courtney's. That's what she gets to hear every night. The tree frogs.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? It's cool. That does remind me though, let's, whenever we're not talking, let's pause just so we can, get a little crystal clarity. But that's that's Courtney's calling card, right? If you start hearing the chirping, Courtney's unmuting and she's got something to say. So get ready, right? That's cool. So today, like I said, we're talking about probably one of the biggest dominoes when it comes to health and wellness. And, a lot of people don't realize that this one thing, and it's not one thing necessarily, like literally it's not one thing, but if we can when we think about this thing, we can kind of put it into one bucket when we think about it in a sense. And there are tons of symptoms that people feel and suffer with every single day that is directly related to this one thing that they don't realize. It's not super obvious that, hey, my, the fact that I feel really low energy really often, or the fact that I am getting acne or I'm having a hard time sleeping, I'm not realizing that these things are connected to something else, right? It's not super obvious, but this thing that I keep teasing out here, maybe a little too dramatically, I will tell you, I promise, what this thing is, this one big domino for your health and wellness. But this one thing is connected to every other part of our body. And that doesn't just mean our physical body. It means our emotional, our mental, our spiritual as well. And it affects how we have relationships it affects all of our relationships. It affects our career. It affects our happiness, our joy, our creativity. It affects everything. And that one thing it's your gut health. It affects everything. And, it is, in my opinion, the biggest domino for most people. Of course, bioindividuality, not all, no two people are the same. You can't just put a cookie cutter approach to anything. But for the most part, regardless of bioindividuality, nearly everybody can benefit by giving their gut some love. And it's going to show up in their life in ways that are really hard to imagine. Right.
And let's clarify by saying we're talking about digestion. One time I had a client, I said, I want to talk about your gut. And they got real self-conscious because they thought I was referring to, the spare tire that was sitting around their belly, the actual layer of fat. And I was like, no. I want to talk about your digestion. Yeah. So let's just clarify that we're talking about digestion health.
That's a great point. I never clicked that together there, but And it is connected also, right? Because if you carry a lot of weight around the midsection, that is very rough on your health. But that's a different conversation. That's a great point. We were talking about digestive health. We're talking about the life that lives inside of your belly. In fact, I actually made a post one time on Facebook, and it said, "Good news, you're pregnant." And maybe it was controversial. I actually ran it by my girlfriend first before I posted it and said, "Hey, do you think I should is it okay for me to post this?" And she's like, "Yeah, it makes sense." But it's true, because we all have life living inside of us in our bellies, and it's requiring love and affection from us in order for it to thrive. And if it thrives, it makes our life better. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we're not carrying a baby inside us. We're carrying trillions of forms of life that they influence the environment inside of our body, which influences everything else, the way we feel, the way we react, the way that we show up in this world. But we also influence their environment as well. So we're living in harmony with these bugs or these creatures or these things that are giving us life. So it's kind of interesting to think of it that way. Is that the way that you all think about this as well? Do you think that makes sense to say that we are living in this harmonious relationship with this life inside of us, and it's like we both need each other to survive? Do you think that's accurate?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, Shannon.
I have heard it said that we have more bacteria than we have cells. So with that said, we are more bacteria than we are cells. Not just our gut, like our entire gut, right? Especially in our colon, but also our skin and the bacteria that's on our skin. So it's pretty fascinating. Mm-hmm. And for it all to work together in our body is pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, it's a really nice relationship that we have. I definitely want to keep my guts happy, my little gut bugs.
So what are some things that could happen? Like, what are some of the symptoms that could pop up? I know we gave a few examples of acne or just feeling tired or low energy, or things like that. But what happens if we don't care for these gut bugs? What happens if they feel neglected and they're not at their peak performance?
Well, you could get an overgrowth of the bad bugs, because there are some bad bugs in there too. And the bad bugs and the good bugs eat different things. And when you have an overgrowth of the bad bugs, you will experience some dysfunction in your guts, in your body, how it manifests on the outside, how you feel on the inside. It's all going to be bio-individual to each person, but it's important to feed our good bugs and also feed our bugs prebiotics, because they like that too. And prebiotics are found in different types of foods like green bananas and jicama. I think psyllium husk is also one as well.
I know one of the way it's shown up for me is a hormonal imbalance. Everything from, I didn't have cortisol measuring on my saliva test, and my estrogen was completely off the charts. So this was before I was a coach. This was before I knew a lot more than I do now about nutrition. And my diet was incredibly poor. I was taking in way too much sugar, way too much fat. And it may have, like, not necessarily bad junk food, but out of balance food, out of balance gluten-free stuff, out of balance too much fruit, too many nuts, not enough protein. And then my sleep was off, and it was a snowball effect that my hormones were completely jacked. And it took a few months, no less than 3 months, to get my hormones back into a balanced place. Tyler?
What does that feel like when you mentioned your estrogen levels were off the charts? Like, what indicated to you that you should even go get a test? What kind of symptoms were popping up for you?
I was exhausted all the time. Getting out of bed was such an issue for me. Like, I never wanted to get out of bed. And of course, with that, there's also depression that people will, label you with and things of that sort. But I didn't have the cortisol which is the fight or flight hormone, also the hormone that gets you up and going out of bed. So it's not necessarily a bad hormone. You do want some, right? Mm-hmm. And so that wasn't getting high enough in the morning to get me out of bed. And then by the afternoon, when it's naturally declining, mine was crashing hard. So, and then the hormone, the estrogen dominant bit, that looked like tender breasts, that looked like mood swings, that looked like incredibly painful cycles. I mean, the kind of pain that ibuprofen, Pamprin, Advil, all of those little over-the-counter pills are a joke. That kind of pain. Mm-hmm. No, I'll just leave it at that for y'all. Let's see. Mm-hmm. And just some real tired and sluggish, mostly.
I think a lot of people are living each day of their lives feeling really tired and really sluggish. I meet more and more people, and I feel like this is a new thing. At least I don't remember people feeling this way. Or maybe I'm just getting, like, I just entered my 30s. So I know maybe I'm just starting to see this next part of life a little more clearly. But I've noticed that, and I've felt it. I feel tired often too, right? And I also have very low cortisol levels that I'm working on. It seems to be a very chronic thing, and it seems to be in a lot of people, at least from what I've noticed. Have you all noticed that as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Cortisol, gut health is directly related to hormone health. I'm so glad Shannon shared her experience. We don't realize how much our daily lives, and Tyler, you said you've noticed it a lot lately. I think our fast-paced world has made us, grab things quick to eat, spend less time resting, less time, in social, joyful situations. And so that cortisol level climbs, which directly affects your gut microbiome. I mean, so it's both sides. Your microbiome affects your cortisol, and your cortisol affects your microbiome. And so, the two create a balance. And I think we live in a very fast-paced, stressed world. I think with the access to social media and 24/7 news coverage, and of course, not to mention, we just went through a worldwide pandemic. I think there's a lot of people that their digestive system, which affects their, central nervous system, are feeling it. And so I hear that a lot. I'm just worn out. I'm just tired. I don't have the umph to get up and go that I used to have. So I have been seeing a lot of that.
Yeah. The nice thing, if you think about hormonal health, it's not as straightforward, right? You can't just put those hormones in your body and it goes up, right? But the nice thing is with the fact that there's such a symbiotic relationship between gut health and hormonal health, there is something you can do about gut health, right? It's more in our control of that than it is to say, oh, my cortisol levels are low, I need to do something. It's not very actionable, right? But thankfully, we can focus on our gut health. And thankfully, I believe there are no accidents in the universe, and especially in the way that we're designed. And the fact that this is such an actionable part of our health, something that is so much more in our control than a lot of other areas of health, gets to affect everything else. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And to continue with the hormone stuff. So thyroid issues can be related to gut health. Sex issues, sex drive, and sexual dysfunction can be related to gut health. When we're talking about hormones, we're talking about all of them. Your adrenaline, your cortisol, your thyroid, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, pregnenolone, the list goes on and on and on. And they work as a symphony. Your hormones do. So when your gut gets out of balance, it doesn't just affect one hormone, but it will present differently. For Shannon, it presented it as low estrogen. For other people, it presents as low testosterone. For me, it presented as low progesterone. My progesterone tanked when my gut health got out of balance from stress in my life. So it shows up differently for everybody.
Cool. Courtney?
I recently, at the beginning of the year, I guess the end of last year, beginning of this year, I was undergoing a lot of stress. breakup with my partner and moving back to the Virgin Islands. And my guts definitely felt it. Like I was having trouble digesting. Like I felt like my digestion just stopped. It was just like the cogs in the wheels just stopped. And I would wake up in the middle of the night and I'd have to go to the bathroom. And it wasn't until I got myself out of that stressful situation and nursed myself back to health that things started to get better. And it affected my sleep. And it affected my weight. I dropped weight. I was eating so much and I couldn't keep weight on. Luckily, I've nursed myself back to health and I'm feeling great again once that stress was gone, but it had a direct impact. And I felt it physically and mentally too, because I wasn't, my brain wasn't working well either. And that stress was a real doozy on my body. But I'm glad that I was able to nurse myself back together with living in a non-dysfunctional environment and, continuing to eat healthy foods and take some probiotics and just nurse myself. And I feel a whole heck of a lot better when I'm in balance.
This episode is brought to you by oxygen and carbon dioxide. Breathe deep, breathe slow. Are you tired of nagging headaches, body pains, and feeling like you've been steamrolled by 2 p.m.?
Ugh.
Want to feel more alive with a clearer mind, voice, and skin?
Yep.
And not to mention getting rid of that pesky BO when the deodorant starts to wear off?
Ew.
Introducing to you today, water. Did you know that 75% of American adults are chronically dehydrated? And did you know that majority of people who are dehydrated think that they actually are hydrated? That means most people are not drinking enough water. But if they did, and they realized how much of a massive difference it makes in how they feel to be hydrated, they would realize that water can change their life. So drink more water. Aim for 96 fluid ounces per day minimum for adults. Side effects include peeing more often the first couple of weeks, but don't worry, it will slow down soon. I know I should really drink less caffeine. I just wish there was some way of getting energy in the morning without a coffee. Ah, the sun! Wait a minute. I feel good. Especially when I close my eyes and stare at the sun through my eyelids. Wow, this is great. I think I'm ready to crush this day now. Thanks, sun. The sun. Use it for free with care. Hey y'all, hope you've enjoyed these goofy little commercials. The information is all accurate and valid, so please use the tips we shared. Even though we're having fun and being silly recording them, they're still 100% meant to support you and entertain you. We'll be getting back to the show in just a minute, but first, I want to really encourage you to join our free community on Facebook. It's called the Powerful People Community, and it's a place where you can interact with other listeners of the show, including me, our other coaches and co-hosts and everybody. And it's a place where you can ask questions publicly or anonymously. You can request episode topics, you can share your story, and celebrate with a group of really amazing people who will also be celebrating you. So we really hope to see you in the community. We think we're building something really special because we believe when you bring together a group of powerful people, there's just so many great things we can do in this world, more than we could do on our own. So we're building a special community and we hope to talk to you there soon. Now, let's get back to the show.
So just a reminder, when we are super stressed out, our digestive system naturally cuts itself off. So the thought behind that is we're in fight or flight mode, and our body wants to protect us, wants to save us. And in that moment, all of the energy is going to protecting our life. It's not going to digestion. It's not going to the reproductive organs. It's going to get out of this situation by any means necessary. And, it happens. Life happens. Sometimes a lot of life happens all at once. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, it really helps your digestive system if you're not eating a lot of heavy stuff, recently I've had to, be mindful of the portion size, make sure I'm not eating too much fat, which I know that my body has a hard time digesting already. Weighing in heavy on the lighter liquids, like the bone broths. They're high in protein, but they're easier to digest because they're already broken up. I've been cooking my vegetables instead of eating them raw because that helps to break down the food a little bit, making it easier for my digestive system to do its job, to continue breaking down so my body gets the minerals and the vitamins and everything that it needs. So when you're really stressed, just like Courtney was saying, and she nursed herself back to health, you have to take smaller meals. You'll definitely want to lay off the alcohol. You'll definitely want to lay off the heavy carbs, the sugars, the things that are hard for your system to digest already. So, my heart goes out to those who find comfort in food. I mean, you got to be careful, friends, because your system might not be digesting that food very well, and it's going to cause you to feel sluggish and tired, and then it's going to snowball, and next thing you know, you're sitting in the doctor's office.
Yeah. And there's a direct correlation between gut health and mental health. Years ago, I read a book called GAPS, and it stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And it talks about the two-way flow. We used to think that the brain informed the body, and we now know that through the vagus nerve, the gut actually informs the brain, and then it's a two-way flow, and the brain informs the gut. So there's this two-way communication. It's not one way anymore. I mean, it never was one way, but we've now discovered and scientifically proven that the communication is two-way. And so, things like depression, anxiety, brain fog, focus, attention, mental health is directly related to gut health. When people come to me with anything related to mental health, brain fog, focus, whatever it might be, when you heal the gut, you can heal, those symptoms that are related to mental health. And it takes a while. Just like Courtney said, a few months. You heard Shannon say a few months. In this quick turnaround, fast-paced world, we want things to work now, but to rebuild your hormones, rebuild your gut, it's several weeks, if not several months, but it's so worth it. So if you're struggling with any type of mental health, know that nourishing your gut health will nourish your mental health.
That's good. Cool. Yeah. Before we jump into ways that we can improve our gut health, let's talk a little bit about what gut health actually feels like, or what gut health actually is, right? We talked about what could happen if we don't take care of the gut. And we talked about some of the things that a lot of people feel on a daily basis. What's possible? What is it? What if we have a healthy, optimized gut, digestive tract? How can that impact us?
I think when our digestion is on point, then we are absorbing all of the nutrients that are in our foods, and that is going to feed the cells, and that is going to feed your whole body. You're going to be regular. You're going to be going to the bathroom once or more a day. You're going to feel good. You won't feel bloated. I'm sure we've all experienced bloating, and it can be a little bit very uncomfortable at some points. But mostly it's getting the maximum absorption and also keeping the lines clear so your gut can communicate with your brain and back and just have you better in balance.
I used to work with some practitioners who specialized in digestive health, and the one thing that they were always teaching their clients and patients is you poop no less than how many times you ate the day before, because it takes your body about, give or take, 24 hours to fully digest. So if you had 2 meals yesterday, ideally you're going to have 2 bowel movements. If you ate 3 times, then 3. We're talking about meals. We're not talking about a couple of cashew snack, but actual meals. And with the hormone health as well, I learned that estrogen leaves the body through your poop. So for any of those folks out there that have super high estrogen, it's definitely helpful to make sure you're eating a very well balanced meal for your body type and you're going to the bathroom. And, there's all kinds of pictures and all kinds of things on, a healthy poop. I don't have any of those pictures with me, so I won't go into that with you, but just know that that is, something, it's something to keep in mind for those that have high estrogen.
Yeah. Well, and what does it not look like? If you have indigestion, if you have heartburn, if you have bloating, if you have, loose stools, if you have constipation, all of those are pointing to the fact that your digestive tract, your gut health, needs some attention. The good news about digestive health is that it can be corrected. It can turn around. But so often I have people come to me that say, oh, I've been dealing with heartburn my whole life. I just take an antacid or I drink a little bit of water and it goes away. I don't want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about, my migraine headaches or, my infertility. And I always say, well, we're going to talk about that because that's, that foundational thing that we build off of. So just because you've always dealt with it and you've always had it doesn't mean it's an optimal state of being for you. Constipation runs rapid in our society. And so many people tell me, I love that Shannon gave us a benchmark on how many times we should poop a day. Because I have people that are like, I poop once or twice a week and I'm good. And I'm like, oh, how many times do you eat? And so you should be, I love Shannon. That was great, by the way, how often you should be going to the bathroom and it should be comfortable. It shouldn't be difficult. And the color of it matters, the size, the actual shape of it. You can get online and find pictures, but pay attention to your bowel movements. They're telltale signs. Do you have speckles in your bowel movements? You might have a yeast infestation that you don't know about. If they're seriously dark, you might have some other type of imbalance that's going on. If they're really yellow, that's another imbalance that's going on. Be your own advocate and start looking into that. And just because it's always been that way, or it started like that after my first, child was born or whatever, doesn't mean that it's optimal. So keep that in mind. Just because it's regular for you or normal for you doesn't mean it's optimal for you.
And if you're ever in doubt, still don't take a picture of it and send it to your friends. Not cool.
No, don't do that. Yeah.
I told you we were going to talk about poop today.
Yeah.
This is good. Cool. Yeah. So when I think about the benefits that come from taking care of the gut health, one big thing for me, I know there's so many different things that we could talk about and bring up and mention, but one of the biggest things for me is just the amount of mental clarity I have, the lack of brain fog. Mm-hmm. My memory is better. And it's amazing because, when you have a stomach ache, it's almost impossible to think about anything else besides that stomach ache. Right? The only thing that when I have a stomach ache, the only things that I can think about is the stomach ache hurts and I miss what it was like back when I didn't have a stomach ache. Right? Or imagine, how much more grateful I'm going to be when I don't have a stomach ache. Right? I don't have stomach aches that often, but when I do, that's kind of, it steals your attention. It steals your mental capacity. And that's whenever you have a stomach ache, right? A lot of times the symptom pops up whenever the problem has been there for a little while, right? By the time you've had a stomach ache, you've been having you've been having like an imbalance for a little while, right? And it goes that way with a lot of things, a lot of different things that can pop up with your health and wellness. By the time the symptom pops up, it's been there for a little bit. But even before you have that stomach ache, before you have the pain that is like an indicator to your brain that, hey, something's wrong, your mind is still connected to the gut, right? And it's still connected to that imbalance that's there before the stomach ache starts. Mm-hmm. So for weeks, or months, we could be walking around at a limited capacity in our attention and focus and memory and all of those things, because the attention's down here to what's going on down here. There's something wrong. There's too many bad bugs. The good bugs aren't fighting well enough. The environment is off for it's not in a healthy growth environment for the life inside of our gut.
Sometimes they call the gut the second brain. Have you ever heard that statement where they're calling the gut the second brain? So I want you to think about it that way.
There's a lot of talk.
Yeah. When you're taking care of your gut, you're taking care of your brain, the second brain. There's more neurotransmitter activity in your gut than there is between your ears, the what lies up here inside your skull. And I read a great book years ago called The Second Brain, and it was a little heavy on the science. It's not one that I'd recommend to everybody, but I think it was Dr. Michael Gershon is who wrote the book. I'd have to glance at my bookshelf to make sure, but the connection between, your this brain and this brain down here is intimate. And also how we feel, our emotions. This is a big thing. Have you ever heard somebody say, I have a gut feeling about them? You know what I mean? The way we process our emotions and receive stimuli from the outside world, we process through our gut. You never hear somebody say, I have an elbow feeling about them. No, we don't say that. And when you're really excited, what do you say? You're like, oh, I got butterflies. You're feeling it down here in your gut. And when you get horrible news, what do you say? You grab your stomach and you go, oh my God, I'm sick. I just can't believe that happened. We process our mental and emotional state through our gut. Our gut is an indicator of that. So keep that in mind, that the healthier your gut is, the healthier you are mentally and emotionally as well. And when you're mentally, emotionally not healthy, your gut is adversely affected as well. So trying to create balance and just keep it in mind as well.
Yeah, it makes me think of when you've got a gut feeling. And I think that's where intuition is. At least for me, that's where I feel my intuition. And when I'm faced with a decision and I'm not sure which way to go, I ask my gut, like, okay, what are we doing here? And if it's a no, I get a heavy feeling in my gut. And if it's a yes, it's just kind of open and free. And I'm glad I have that communication and that understanding with my gut. And I appreciate it. It did take me a while to hone that in that relationship, but I'm so glad that it's there. And the more that I trust it, the more it happens. The more I can run with the feeling and not second guess it. And I feel like that is a great superpower.
We you cut off a little bit on our end, Courtney, but this software that we use for recording, it records individually on each of our computers. So the people listening to the podcast should have still been able to hear everything you said, but it cut off for us. We missed a little bit of what you said there.
Oh, fantastic! I was just talking about how intuition is just a magical gift, and when you can hone that the communication with your gut and your intuition, it really is something that you can rely on. I do, and I trust it. The more that I trust it, the more it speaks up, and it's nice to be able to just kind of go and not question it. I feel like it's a valuable piece of me.
That's why they say trust your gut.
Yes, exactly.
Shannon, you had something to add?
Yeah, I forgot what it was.
I'd say I think when you're in touch with your intuition and you're like really connected to your gut, that's, to me, have you heard the phrase living with flow or being in flow? Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that is what flow is whenever you're just really connected to the gut, your intuition, your psychic abilities, which I know is kind of a buzzword that could be kind of controversial to some people. When you hear psychic, you think, oh, wow, woo woo, or I don't believe in that. But really, intuitive. It's a sense that we have. Yeah, intuitive. It's like it's really a sense that we have. It's our sixth sense, which also sounds kind of woo woo and out there, but we have more senses than the 5 we were taught in kindergarten. And one of them is that intuition, psychic ability, and the ability to feel a flow, to get into flow, which is real connected, deep connection with life and what's going on around us and in us, right? So Okay, so now I think the people listening are convinced, right? People listening are saying, okay, gut health is important. It could be a big domino in my health and wellness, and it could be a reason why I'm feeling X, Y, or Z, or the reason why I'm not feeling X, Y, or Z. Where do I go from here, right? I want to help improve my gut health. I want to do something to help improve my gut health. Where can I get started? And what I think we could do, and I'll let y'all tell me what you think is best here, but we definitely could share the 4R, the 4R method, which is kind of the gold standard when it comes to working on gut health. It's kind of what a lot of coaches or gut specialists are taught when they go to school, and it's kind of the framework that they use for helping their clients improve gut health. And then we can all kind of share other strategies or ideas or tips or things like that that's worked for us or our clients. What do you think? Is that good?
Yeah, let's start with the 4R method. Go for it.
Cool. So there's 4 of us here, and since we just graduated from IIM, this could be a good test. Are we gonna, no, I'm not gonna do that. Never mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to put me on the spot because I'm like, what are the 4Rs? So that's why I was waiting for you to say it. And then you're going to say it, and I'm going to be like, oh, yeah. So I want to take credit for your knowledge. So go for it.
Yes. So the 4R
my gut
method
is saying, I don't want to
um,
test right now.
The first R is remove. The second R is replace. The third R is re-inoculate.
Yep.
And then the fourth R is repair.
Yeah.
Right. And so what do we mean by that? Right. So starting with the first R, which is remove. Remove means removing anything from our diet or our habits that's causing an imbalance in our gut health and our microbiome, and or causing inflammation inside of our body, right? So that includes foods that we're allergic to or have sensitivities to. It could mean if we've been taking a certain all right, so this is where it gets sticky. Refer back to our last episode about, medications and things like that. But if you're taking any sort of over-counter medication daily for an extended period of time without addressing the real issue of what's going on, then that could be something that's causing an imbalance in your gut health. That's not to say that if you're on any sort of prescription drugs and your doctor tells you need to take it every single day, definitely listen to your doctor. That's not saying to stop taking those. But it's saying if you have a migraine every day and you're taking an Advil cold and sinus 2 to 3 times a day for the last however many months or years, or if you're my mom for is the entire time I've ever known her, that is, that could be an example of something that we remove. But for the most part, we're focusing on our foods because our foods are where we have a little bit more control and a little bit less of, risk, right? Because if you stop taking certain medication, it could cause a problem. But with our food, you're probably not going to have really crazy problems if you remove something from your diet for a few weeks. And the idea is doing an audit of our diet and just saying, all right, what am I eating on a daily basis? And what are the things that when I eat them, I feel sluggish, I feel bloated, I feel off. And then just kind of making a list of those things, right? And there's one of two ways to think about it. It's either doing it by the feeling method, where you eat your foods and just take note of how you feel after it, and making a list of all the foods that make you feel like that. Or you can go see a doctor and you can get an allergy test or a food sensitivity test, which is a more, streamlined, straight path to just figuring out exactly which foods are not agreeing with you. Shannon, do you want to add something or say something to that?
I do. Processed food, if at all possible, cut it out. I know that's hard. My husband and I are currently living a lifestyle where cooking every night is not an option. So I get it. Those parents with small children especially, and you're already burning the candle at both ends. It's hard, absolutely, but as much as possible, cut out the processed food, cut out the fast food. Buy organic as much as you can afford. Things of that sort. Try and lay off the chips. They have some decently ready-made meals, and your major grocery stores. If you have those available, that might be an option for a quicker meal that's a little bit more on the healthy side, that comes with, different colored vegetables and a protein. So it's balanced for all intents and purposes without getting a nutritionist or a dietitian involved. But yeah, I definitely want to speak to that. I currently have a client who didn't feel bad after eating fast food because she always felt bad because she was always eating fast food. So for her to gauge on how she was feeling wasn't relevant to her situation. After she cut out fast food for a while, then she was like, oh, so this is what good feels like. And then when she would reintroduce something that was on the healthier side of fast food, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to throw the companies under the bus, but she ate some and she felt so ill the next day. I mean, bloated, headache, sluggish, the whole 9 yards. It was just terrible. And she was like, I knew better, but I didn't have time. They offered a free meal. I didn't have to prep it and I couldn't pass it up. And I said, don't beat yourself up over it. It was one meal. It was one day. But now you've learned a lesson that you can feel. And so I wanted to speak to, what Tyler was saying about that.
Yeah, that's good. And for this process, process specifically, we're not saying remove forever and never eat it again. Just for this specific process, remove it for like 2 to 3 weeks, right? Whatever it is, whether you do an allergy test or a food sensitivity test and get those results back, remove everything that you have an allergy or sensitivity to, or whatever. If you're doing the feeling test and you're eating foods and you're realizing, oh, this makes me feel sluggish, completely remove it from your diet for like 2 to 3 weeks, everything all at once, right? Remove it all at once and then reintroduce one at a time and see how you feel. And whenever you reintroduce it, it's like when you become aware of something, you can't ignore it, or at least you have to try really hard to ignore it, right? So once you remove something for a few weeks and then you eat it again and you feel like crap after you eat it, it's there, right? And every time you go to pick up that food again in the future, you're going to be like, you're making a decision. And that's what health is about. It's about empowerment. And it's okay if you make the decision sometimes to do something that's not the best for your health or great for your health. That's okay, as long as it's a decision that you're consciously making, not something that you're just defaulting to out of habit or out of coping mechanism or something like that. If you say, me as well, right? I'm allergic to dairy. So, I shouldn't have any cheese. I shouldn't have any ice cream. And for the most part, I don't. But every once in a while, I'm like, hey, I know the consequences. Screw it. I'm going to have, some mozzarella cheese or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's a conscious decision, and that's okay. That is much better than either being ignorant, which isn't a bad thing. Being ignorant isn't like an insult to anybody. Ignorant just means that you don't know, right? Once you know, that's now you can make an empowered decision. Or it's better than a coping mechanism, or even like, what's the word? When people sabotage, right? Sometimes people purposely do things to hurt themselves because they're not happy with themselves. And if you're feeling that way, or that could be tied back to gut health as well, right? And there's a lot of people that have a strained relationship with themselves, but they don't want to have a strained relationship, right? People want to love themselves, but they don't necessarily in that moment. Your gut health could be a good place to start as well, because that could start to change the way that you feel about yourself and the love that you feel for yourself, because you realize that it's not just yourself. Like, you're caring for a lot of life inside of you, and it goes beyond just yourself. Right. That's why I like to think of it as like a baby, right? Like that we're pregnant. It's because it's our responsibility. It's bigger than just taking care of ourselves. We're taking care of life. We're feeding life, and there's many different, and we don't know. I mean, there's studies of microbiology, and people observe the behavior of these things. We don't know if they're capable of feeling the emotions of love. It seems like they are, because love is a vibration, and the cells inside of our body, their vibration can match that vibration of love when we feel it for ourselves. Right. So I think I just went down a rabbit hole, but essentially, just by feeding this life inside of ourselves, it's not just for us. We're not just doing it for us. We are giving life to a lot of different organisms that are capable of feeling, and as a result of their feeling, interact with our bodies in different ways and cause us to interact with the world in different ways. Right. So just there's a lot of dominoes that can be knocked down by focusing on gut health, and by removing certain things from our diet for a couple of weeks, it can make it really obvious to us whenever we reintroduce it. What is good for it, what our body agrees with and what our body does not agree with. And that can change over time. So it's okay to experiment with our health, right? But for the most part, we want to remove as many foods that are causing inflammation in us, like chronic inflammation, or as many foods that are hurting our healthy bacteria or feeding the unhealthy bacteria as well, right?
And I want to speak to that because a lot of people don't know what feeds the good gut bugs and what feeds the bad gut bugs. For the most part, your highly processed, high glycemic load, high sugar, foods will feed the bad gut bugs. And then your more, your fruits, vegetables, not too much fruits, depending on each person, but, I always say your food from nature. If you could go back 200 years and walk out into your garden, you might have had a farm where you had chickens or cows, you grew things from the ground. But if it comes in its original form, those types of things, your natural fats, your naturally occurring fats that you get, and then your highly processed foods, that have lots of, ingredients, dyes, sugars, but your high glycemic load foods definitely feed your gut bugs. Your alcohol will feed your gut bugs. Also feed things like yeast, which are the bad gut bugs. Because a lot of people are like, what feeds them and what doesn't feed them? And, I always say the things that are best, if you could go back, if you don't have any idea, if you go back 300 years, what did people have available to eat then? Nobody was going to the grocery store, to get a processed meal. So try to get them in their most natural form. And then your highly processed, high sugar, high carb. And this isn't about getting rid of carbs, because carbs are very good for the body, and you just have to manage them correctly. So this isn't getting on a soapbox about carbs. I eat carbs all the time, but just in the healthy form. So just keep that in mind, like, what is good and what is bad. So kind of have them in two categories: your more naturally occurring foods, and then those highly processed foods that are packaged.
I'd also like to add that it's not just our food where we receive different things for our gut biome. It's also our environment. So going out into the world and being in as many diverse environments as you can helps your skin biome, and it helps your gut biome as well. So next time you're out hiking, go hug that tree. Next time you're at the beach, get your hands in the sand. Become one with nature and get that good stuff on your body. And it will help to not only connect you with the earth, but also help to populate and diversify your good guts.
Yeah. Play with your pets. Your pets are outside running around in the dirt and the grass and the muck. Give them big old hugs and, love on your pets when they, that's a good thing that'll bring that different microbiome, diversity in as well.
We were talking about removing certain things from our diet or from our habits, etc. That's the first R. The next R is to replace. And that's kind of what we just started to get into a little bit here, is replace. And when we replace these foods, and here's something to think about, really, we could switch those two R's. We could put replace first and then remove, because an effective strategy, if you're eating a lot of foods that you don't think you should be eating a lot of, instead of trying to just stop eating it, because that can be a very challenging battle. It could be a slippery battle there that, instead of trying to go from that approach, what we could focus on instead is crowding out the bad foods, adding in more of the good stuff and eating that first, so that when you're done eating that, you have full permission to go eat the other stuff, but you just got a whole bunch of good stuff. So now you're going to eat a little bit less of that other stuff, or you're just going to decide, hey, you know what? I no longer have room for that stuff, that bad stuff, right? So consider crowding out the sugary foods or the carbs or the things that you feel are contributing to your inflammation or your imbalance in your gut health with healthier foods. And when we're thinking about gut health specifically, like you said, I'm starting to, sometimes I blend the second and the third R's in my mind between replace and re-inoculate.
Yeah.
They kind of could go together a little bit, because you want to eat foods that are fibrous, are high in probiotics, high in digestive enzymes, high in prebiotics, and things like that. Which a great resource, if anybody's interested, I started a blog last year called happyhealthygut.blog. And it's not the prettiest blog. It's design wise, it is very basic and straightforward, but the articles are really good. I wrote these while we were going to school, while we were learning about gut health. And it's a pretty comprehensive, I wouldn't say comprehensive, but it's a very good guideline for improving your gut health, knowing which foods are high in what kind of enzymes, knowing what foods are high in prebiotics, high in probiotics, things like that. So feel welcome to use that as a resource, happyhealthygut.blog. But thinking about these different foods, what would if we were going to say, if we're going to look at it like this, right? Probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes, fiber. Do you think that's a pretty good overview of gut friendly, like gut boosting food categories?
Yes. And then healthy fats, because healthy fats can make a difference as well, because it affects the way everything goes through there and the way your hormones are metabolized and all that type of stuff as well. But yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And a lot of times, I guess when I think about a lot of probiotics are healthy fats, like a lot of probiotic rich foods have also healthy fats, right? Would you say? Or
it depends.
What are some examples? What are some examples of probiotic rich foods?
Sauerkraut.
That people can add.
That's my favorite. And
sauerkraut.
My dog likes it too.
Kimchi.
I like kombucha.
It's a type of tea, fermented tea. Your fermented foods.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about yogurt, but a lot of your store-bought yogurt is not going to provide you with, the healthy dose of probiotics that you need. Kefir, but if you're allergic to dairy, like Tyler is, then you can get kefir and yogurt, made from coconut milk, made from goat's milk, made from different milks other than dairy. But your fermented foods are going to be fantastic. I love kombucha. I drink kombucha every day. There are some teas out there that are really, good for that type of stuff. Sauerkraut's fantastic. And then your prebiotics, most of your fiber is going to act like a prebiotic. Your fibrous vegetables, your fibrous low sugar fruits, those act as wonderful prebiotics as well. Feeding those.
One of my favorite prebiotics are green bananas, and I like to boil them. And it's kind of like a potato. And I don't like green bananas when they're raw, but boil it up a little bit, put it on the plate, add a little salt and pepper, and oh, is that delicious.
Oh, that's good. I've never had them.
Interesting.
Give it a try. Reach out. I'll give you the recipe how to cook it. It's very easy.
Other prebiotic rich foods are onions, garlic, jicama, asparagus, flax seeds, things like that.
Yep. Those are all good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Leaf artichokes.
And, having diversifying your food. What was that, Shannon?
What's that, Shannon?
think artichokes as well.
Artichokes.
Yeah. But if you can diversify your food, eat something spicy one day, eat a lot of fiber another day, try different spices, add different spices to your diet. Try different teas. Teas can be very healing, to your body.
Yes.
To your point on
and of course
seasoning, I'm sorry. To your point on seasoning, oregano. I use a lot of oregano in my dishes. Put it on top of salads that has the artichokes and the sauerkraut. And apple cider vinegar is
that's
very
a good one.
helpful for digestion as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool. And as far as enzyme-rich foods, I have a list here.
Go for it.
Some enzyme-rich foods. And here's the thing. There's different kinds of enzymes, and you don't have to know what all the different enzymes are. That's totally okay. But by eating a variety of enzyme-rich foods, you're going to get a variety of different enzymes in your body, and the different enzymes specialize in breaking down different kinds of food, right? Some enzymes are good at breaking down protein, such as the enzymes that are in papaya. Some enzymes are good at breaking down sugar, like the enzymes that are in honey, right? Some are good at breaking down and absorbing fat, like the enzymes that are in avocados.
Pineapple is another one that's got a lot of good enzymes in it.
Yeah, pineapple as well. Right?
Yeah.
Bananas as well. Bananas are good at breaking down, they help with breaking down carbs and starch. Also miso as well. Miso is really good. It's good at breaking down dairy, lactose, and carbs and protein. Any other? There's a lot, and it's pretty easy to do like a Google search and you can find lists of enzyme rich foods. But the idea is to get a variety of these kinds of foods, right? Get a variety of probiotics, a variety of prebiotics, and a variety of enzymes. And if you're wondering, right, if you're like a lot of my clients who want to start eating healthier, but they don't really know what to start buying from the grocery store, a lot of my clients, one of the first things they ask me is, can you just make me a list, like a grocery list, and I can go shopping for you? Which, by the way, as a health coach, that is a great entry point into your brand. A lot of people are looking for grocery lists. And if you can make like a free resource of ideas of things for people to buy in the grocery, or guidelines or rules or guidelines for grocery shopping, it can be a great lead magnet to get people's contact information and maybe get on a call to see if there's a potential to work together.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to add, oftentimes introducing new foods can be very intimidating. I have worked with clients that, they're just, honestly, it's almost a phobic thing, but they're scared of new foods. And if that's the case, find yourself a high quality probiotic supplement to take. Find yourself a high quality digestive enzyme supplement to take. Find your, if the idea is overwhelming you of having to completely change my diet in order to get healthy, microbiome, you can start, with some supplementation. And I like to mix it up with a little bit of both, but keep in mind, make sure that not all supplementation is created the same. So make sure that you do your research. If you can work with somebody that's got some background in it, that helps. But sometimes just the smallest tweak. I just had a client this week that I encouraged to start on a probiotic. And he called me last week. He said, is it possible that I'm thinking more clearly and I have a little more motivation since I started this probiotic? And I said, yeah, it absolutely is possible. He had been on it for about 10 days because you're fortifying the good microbiome. So if the thought of overhauling your diet is overwhelming you and you're wanting to hit the pause button or turn off this podcast because it's just too much, you can start, with a high quality supplement as well.
And I'll say that finding a quality probiotic supplement is incredibly difficult.
Yes.
Most probiotic supplements are completely useless, like by the time they make it to the shelf and make it into your gut. it is incredibly difficult to find a quality, trustworthy probiotic supplement. In fact, I'm open to recommendations because I have yet to find one. Mm-hmm. I would really challenge people that I know it's scary to try different foods, and I know that you're taking a risk in a sense in some ways, right? I understand the risk of trying a new food because you invest in something, you spend the time trying to prepare it or research how it should be eaten and things like that. I would love to help people find more joy and fun in that process, because getting these probiotics or getting these nutrients or enzymes from food sources is amazingly beneficial. And of course, if that is something that is holding you back, of course, supplementation is, it is an option, at least, it can work as a transition at least, or something along those lines. But I would love to help people find more joy in trying new foods and have strategies to limit the downside of that risk, to where even if you try something and you don't enjoy it, it doesn't take from you as much or hurt you or things like that, right? It's more of a fun process. So yeah, I would definitely challenge people to try to find foods that they're willing to test. Even if it's like a safer bet, like something that you feel you would enjoy or something, I would please challenge yourself to at least be open to the idea of it, right? Don't be completely cut off if that's possible for you in your moment where you are in your life right now. Shan, were you going to say something before?
Yes, I wanted to speak to, you're not really sure where or how or anything of that sort. Real quick, I know Life Priority, they vet all supplements. Very high standard, very good. So that's, again, Life Priority. I get supplements from them. And then another one is Emerson Ecologics. And I don't believe just anyone can buy from Emerson, but if you can at least get to their page and shop some of their products, again, that's a very reputable company that's vetting all of the products. And like I said, I don't think just anybody, the general public, but practitioners can, if that tells you anything. Like, that's the quality. You're not going to find all of this stuff on Walmart, Target, grocery store shelves. And
Right.
I couldn't agree more with Tyler. If changing your eating habits isn't getting you the results you need or the results you want, and you want to take it to the next level and get a supplement, you want something that is that high a quality. Otherwise, getting back to the poop, you're just going to poop it out. And it's not going to be absorbed the way it needs to be to do what it needs to do. When we're talking about
what was that first brand you mentioned?
Life Priority. By the way, mentioning these companies, just because I know them doesn't mean I get a kickback. I just happen to buy my supplements from them.
Yeah.
And like I said, I used to work with practitioners. I used to work with practitioners, and this is where they got their supplements from.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Yeah, Life Priority. Did you find it? Lifepriority.com? It's kind of a blue diamond. It says your life, our priority.
Yeah, lifepriority.com. Okay. Easy enough.
So
that's good.
I'm not getting a kickback, but I am highly recommending that. They have good quality. They stand by their product, their customer service, their shipping, the whole 9 yards. So you can get some quality on Amazon, but man, you really got to be careful. You really got to be careful. Yeah.
I agree.
So you just got to be careful.
That's where a health coach or a practitioner can help you, get with somebody that is familiar with the industry. And, I've been doing supplementation, for I'm on my 15th year now. But there's a lot of junk science out there, and there's a lot of junk products out there. So get with somebody that you can partner with that, that can give you some guidance.
I used to own a supplement business. I was in the supplementation business for almost 5 years, and it's kind of disgusting what some of these brands do. It's like the amount of garbage that's out there in the market. It's not, especially in the United States. Like if you're outside of the United States, I know that the European Union has a lot stricter laws around supplementation, and for good reason, because some of the options that you'll find on Amazon or in other places are
right. I was in QA for a company for a few years as well. So I'm proud to say that company was on the up and up. But I tell you what, their product is costly because they're on the up and up.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
And so with that said, like that further drives the point of the diet is really important, right?
It is.
Your first defense.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And if you're eating a diverse diet with enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics, fiber, things like that. Also thinking of an anti-inflammatory diet, right? Foods like berries or fatty fish or broccoli, peppers, mushrooms,
avocados,
things like that. Avocados, right?
Greens are wonderful for reducing inflammation. Your dark leafy greens.
And let's do an episode sometime. Yeah, right. Let's do an episode sometime about how to make these things taste good. I want to do an episode talking about just different fun ways when it comes to cooking of how to take these like core ingredients like veggies,
Yeah.
Veggies are actually pretty easy to cook. And I think a lot of people feel really intimidated by them because they come in they don't come in a package. There's no instructions on them. But they're actually really easy to cook. And there's a few things that we can do in the kitchen. I'm going to tease this episode out a little bit. There's a few key things that you can do in the kitchen that are very simple to make any meal taste so much better. And we'll talk about that in a future episode of the Holistic Health Front podcast. Stay tuned.
Yeah. And I just want to tell everybody, we've been saying a lot about probiotics, prebiotics, supporting hormones. In today's information technology, you can literally do an internet search for prebiotic foods, for probiotic foods, for, foods, fibrous, high fiber foods, low glycemic index foods, so don't feel like when you leave here, you didn't get everything that you needed. You can literally search those types of foods, and there's wonderful information out there on those types of foods that are available.
Totally. And make a list. Yeah. Like it's kind of fun. Just look up what are some foods that reduce inflammation in the body, or what are some foods that are rich in, right. Do a search for those kind of things and just kind of make a list of the foods that either you've heard of and you tried and you like, or things that you've heard of, but you've never tried. And maybe you might want to try it. Make a list of those things. It's not a commitment that you have to try that thing, but then when you go grocery shopping next time, and if you see one of those foods, try like maybe every time you go to the grocery store, try to like add one thing to your cart that you normally wouldn't get as like a test, right? And maybe start. And the thing is that there's this common misconception that healthy foods are expensive, and I completely disagree with that. I think that you save so much money. No, I will stand on this. This is great. This is perfect. This could be our first debate someday. I firmly believe that you will save so much money by eating healthier because you need so much less of the food. Produce is way less expensive. You buy some produce. That produce is going to go a lot further than your box of whatever food, right? And it's going to give you so much more substance to where you don't have to keep snacking for hours after your meal to try to fill this need that you're not having met, right? So I would debate that eating healthy is a lot more cost effective than not. Shannon, what were you going to say?
I have a couple of things to that. It's cost effective depending on how many people you have in your household. It's really hard in some cities to get quality and portion, and it's affordable. And I say portion because organic food is going to go bad quick, so you need to eat it. It's not going to last you 2
Yes.
weeks necessarily. So that's why I'm like, maybe. Also, the way that I do think it's affordable is because I do eat healthy and I am rarely sick. I'm not spending any money on copays, prescriptions, this, that, or the other, because I am eating healthy and I am digesting and I've got a pretty good system going on. So I'm definitely saving money. I'm not being at the doctor and not being sick all the time and not taking over the counter painkillers and things of that sort. If I'm in pain, I sit and reflect on what's going on. Did I sleep wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Is it stress? Did I work out too hard? Did I not stretch enough? That kind of stuff. There was something else. I think it had something to do with cooking. Oh, yes. Portions. Back to portions. If you're not sure about trying something, buddy up. Buddy up with a friend who is willing to try something. Maybe find, if possible, a healthy restaurant that's going to have it. And, check out their menu and see if you can get it there. Try it there first. That's an option. You got to get creative, have a little brainstorming session. And how can I try this? Where can I find it? Things of that sort. And, maybe you have some foodie friends who will share it with you. And when you give it a whirl and you try something new.
Yeah. And just to push back a little bit because it's fun. Yes, you have to, whenever you buy organic foods, you have to cook and prepare it quickly. But there are ways that we can prepare this food and have it so that it lasts a week or longer. And it can fit in my opinion, it can fit the same exact schedule as the other foods that we buy, like the boxed foods, the canned foods, etc. Obviously not to the extreme, right? Because canned foods can last a long time. But if we're eating the canned food, and we're eating, like, we buy a week's worth of canned food, we buy a week's worth of healthy veggies, produce, fruits, etc. They're both gonna, if we're eating it at the same rate, right? They're gonna last you a week, depending on the circumstances, right? We'll get more into that at a different time. But I think it's an interesting debate. I would love to continue that at some point.
Well,
so we talked about the first three. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. What's the fourth one? Go for it.
We talked about the first 3 R's. So remove, replace, reinoculate. The last one is repair. And whenever our digestive tract is in dysbiosis, which means there's an imbalance of healthy gut bugs / bacteria versus unhealthy. And whenever there's chronic inflammation in our digestive tract, it can cause the lining of our esophagus, our intestines, our gut. That's what, when we say digestive tract, that's what that means. It's the combination of your mouth, your esophagus, your intestines, your gut, your colon,
your stomach,
etc. Your stomach. Yeah. Whenever there's chronic inflammation, it can cause the walls of any of these things to become damaged. And what we want to do is focus on repairing that damage. And, just by switching up your diet, going on to an anti-inflammatory diet, incorporating more prebiotics, probiotics, enzymes, etc., that's going to start to help the process of repairing. It's going to start the process of repairing your gut lining. But another thing that we can add on to that is L-theanine, which is an amino acid. And that is something that I recommend supplementing with whenever you're focusing on your digestive health. So yeah, that's the last R. Anybody want to share anything on that?
There's just some things, one of the things that can be very beneficial is making sure that you balance your pH. I love aloe juice for helping balance your pH. There's other foods out there. You can literally Google pH balancing foods. The more acidic that your environment is, the more the inflammation climbs, and the more acidic your digestive tract is, the more the bad gut bugs thrive. The bad gut bugs love an acidic environment. So the more you can balance your pH. So I love aloe juice for that. There's some teas out there that are really good at balancing your pH. Those are going to help with the repair process. The other thing is the villi, which are the little finger-like projections that are in the lining of your large intestines. the villi have to have a specific pH in order to thrive as well. And so, balancing your pH through small things that you're taking can make a big difference. Trying to stay away from your high acidic foods, especially if you've got a lot of inflammation down there for a little while anyway, can improve. Collagen and collagen producing foods, your gut lining needs collagen for repair. So collagen and collagen producing foods. Don't just go buy an over-the-counter collagen. There's a lot of junk out there. Don't do that. But oftentimes you can have bone broth. I love bone broth. Shannon mentioned it earlier. It's one of my favorites. Bone broth is fantastic for helping repair the gut. So those are just a couple of my things that I recommend to clients. Anybody want to add?
Thanks.
My favorite repair is the probiotic. I take a 42 billion probiotic every night.
And digestive enzymes are fantastic. I tell people oftentimes, we oftentimes will do digestive enzymes in combination with food and high enzyme foods. But oftentimes just doing it on an empty stomach will send them down there into the lower GI, and they can work down there as well, when you're not pairing it with a food and you're just sending it straight through. So enzyme producing foods or foods that are, digestive enzymes are really good for repair as well. And you know what? You have to nourish, so make sure you're eating foods that are nutrient dense. You want to get your vitamins and minerals as well. Your body needs vitamins and minerals to create, strong cellular walls. And, we want strong cellular walls in the lining of our esophagus, our stomach, small intestines, large intestines. So try to eat your nutrient dense foods as well.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'll add that beyond that, there's a few other things that are really important that are kind of no-brainers, but they're worth saying. Of course, sleep has a huge impact on how our body repairs itself and how much energy we have to be able to do for our body to function properly. So sleep is a really big one. Also, hydration is a really big one. Water, right? Water is going to push toxins through your body more efficiently, effectively, right? And another thing is our stress / like our mental emotional state. So doing things like meditating or doing affirmations on like a regular schedule on a regular basis is really beneficial. And it helps with sleep as well, which, as we just mentioned, right? So
breathing,
doing stuff like that, and breathing. Oh yeah. Breath,
it's so
oxygen.
important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 3 full deep breaths, 3 or 4 times a day, we've all got our watches, we've got our phones, our watches, set an alarm to just stop everything you're doing and take 3 full cleansing breaths, a few times a day. It makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure those breaths are from the diaphragm. So your belly is pushing out and you're not breathing so much from here, but really push out that belly. And when you breathe out, then push out, also push in with your abs and breathe out that way. And you're activating the vagus nerve that way. And you're just really getting into the lower part of the lungs that you don't normally get to. Most Americans breathe way up here, and you're not using the whole capacity. And when you're using the whole breath, you're really nourishing your whole body.
We're going to do an entire episode on breath at some point. That's a really good conversation that we can have.
Excellent.
Cool. And also exercise.
That's a good point.
Doing high intensity exercise helps, like running or just things that get your heart rate going, helps to oxygenate the body, get things moving and flowing. But then also doing weights as well helps with your posture, and your posture helps with the way that things function inside of you, right? Yeah. The structure of your body impacts the function of the body. And so exercise in general. Is there anything else? I think that's all I can think of right now.
I will just note that when you, good point. When you improve your gut health, you improve all of your health. It feels like we're just focusing on one area, but your skin, a lot of skin issues, eczema, psoriasis, acne, a lot of skin issues will show up. Your hair, because you're taking in nutrients when you have a healthy gut and you're detoxifying when you have a healthy gut, everything starts to change. So I know we're talking about our gut, but what we're really talking about is your whole body. This is a whole body makeover. And I know it doesn't sound like it, but it really is, because it's where health starts and stops. I have a mentor that when she gets up on stage and she does her education talks, she says, the road to health is paved with good intestines. So, it's true. We have to have that working well.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, it's one of the first dominoes. It's one of the biggest dominoes in our health, and it's a great place to start, right? Yeah. Courtney, what were you saying?
I was just, when you have your guts in good shape, it's a wonderful foundation to build upon to improve your health and your brain function and all the functions. It's it's a very important place to start.
So for anybody out there who, you know that you want to feel better, you want to give more to yourself, to invest in your health and your wellness, and you know that there's more you could be doing, but you're just not really sure where to start, this could be an option for you. This could be a good place to start. And only what would have the best impact on you and what feels right for you, right? So we're not saying that you have to go out today and do the 4-hour method and start doing all of this stuff. We recommend it for those of you who take the time to listen to this episode and take some time to yourself to think, does this land for me? Is this relevant to me? And do I feel like this could be beneficial for me? And if that is you, then we invite you to take these steps and start this process. And we invite you to, please don't think you have to do it on your own. You have people who want to support you. You have people who have done this before. Those of us on our call, right? Like, we're all coaches here. There's powerful people out in this world who have experience improving their health, and they want to help other people improve their health as well. That's why we created this podcast, the Holistic Health Front podcast. That's why we created our online community, the Powerful People community. And if you are starting your health journey and you want to put yourself in the best position, environment, and have the right support system around you to make sure that you accomplish your health goals, we invite you to our free community where the Powerful People community. It's on Facebook. You can reach all of us there. You can interact with other people who listen to the show, and you can be a part of a group, a community that is very supportive, that is there for each other. And everybody is challenging themselves to do better, to be better, to do the right things, to be the person that they truly want to be. So we invite you to that. We invite you to reach out to us. If you ever see me in the group, you are more than welcome to send me a DM or tag me in a comment in the group or something like that. I am happy to support. I guess I could say that for everybody here. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I assume that goes for everybody here.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's better to do it with other people.
It is.
Going about a health journey on your own can be incredibly confusing, frustrating, misleading,
daunting,
right? But doing it with a group just makes everything easier. We can help cut through the noise and keep you on a straight line path towards your health and wellness goals, while giving you the support community team, tools, resources, etc., to do it to the best of your ability.
And all of the stuff we talked about could be really overwhelming. The 4 R's. If you're curious about this, pick one thing. Add one thing.
Yep.
Add a new food and work on that. Focus on that for a while. You don't have to do everything tomorrow. That's impossible.
Yeah.
So just think of just one thing and start there.
Drink more water.
Yes. Cheers to that.
It's a great,
just one
point.
thing. Courtney has a very good point. Just one thing, because one thing for a little while can lead to the next thing for a little while that leads to the next thing. You're picking up pebbles, along the way on your path. So yeah, start small and move from there.
It really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We don't have to do everything at once. Our body responds so well. When we just do one thing, our body responds like we just did 5. But then when we sustain that one thing for a while and to the point to where it becomes a habit, and then we can add a second thing onto it, it multiplies as we go. But just starting one thing, keep it very simple, take baby steps. That's totally cool because momentum builds on itself. And just by getting a small win, that can snowball into something really significant, and it could change your life. It could change the lives of the people around you, because you are an incredibly powerful person. Every single one of us, like, we can really do special things for the people in our lives. And it starts by doing it for ourselves first, right? Putting ourselves in that position to where we have the energy, the capacity, and the the willpower to actually be super present in life and see the opportunities to create improvements for ourselves and those people around us. So it is really important, right? Like, we are extremely powerful people, and we deserve to feel good. All of us, we deserve to feel at 110%. Just because we've been at 65% and normalized it, that's not life. Like, that's like smelling the apple pie but never getting to take a bite. You know what I mean? Like get metaphorically, this is a health show, but apple pie is still delicious. Enjoy the goodness of life. Like, really indulge in the goodness of life. And the goodness in life isn't a shallow, sugar-filled treat. The goodness in life is feeling like this power that comes out of us, like this love and groundedness and awareness and connectedness with everything around us. That's life. That's the really fulfilling stuff that a donut can never do. So that's my 2 cents on the topic. Anybody, any last thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
No, I think we're good. We have so many other episodes to do.
Mm-hmm. We have a lot of stuff coming. So really good. We're on a schedule now. We're going to be recording every week, a new episode every week up until, and hopefully beyond the launch, which the launch is, obviously, if you're listening to this episode, the launch has already happened. But saying this now so that you know that we have a lot of really good topics coming up that we're going to talk about holistic health, because, health isn't just one dimensional. There's a lot of different parts of our life that can be talked about when it comes to health. So a lot of juicy conversations coming that could really help you or the people around you who you love and care about.
Yeah, I love these conversations with you.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up again, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. If you enjoyed this conversation and you're enjoying the Holistic Health Front podcast, we would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to our show on your favorite podcasting platform. Leave a review, please, preferably a 5-star review, but we invite you to be super honest. We're always looking for ways that we can improve, but a 5-star review is a very good indicator that we're going in the right path. And even if we're not perfect, we are completely committed to being better, to getting better over time. This is still one of the first episodes that we've started recording, and we plan for the show to be on for a very long time. So even if things aren't perfect, we are totally open to your feedback. But if you see the effort that we're giving here and the consistency that we're giving here, we would still really appreciate a 5-star review, even if, we're still on the path to get there. Right. But yeah, we really appreciate you, and we hope that you enjoy this, and we have a lot more coming for you. So thank you so much. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thanks, everybody.
Please share with your friends.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, share with your friends.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.